Hi, welcome to Magical Curiosities. Today I'm going to show you how to make pen wands. And these are really fast done wands that you can make for like party favors, or we did them for Valentine's Day favors. We made 60 of them, and while making 60 does take a long time per pen, we did them pretty quickly, and I'll show you how to do them quickly. We've done pencils in the past, and I just realized when I was looking this up that these were the first wands that I ever made with hot glue gun. And I made them out of pencils using a book that I had seen and put little beads on the top. So it's been 2 full years since I did my first hot glue wands. And I really think that doing pens is a better idea if you want to be able to write with them, because the pencils you have to sharpen and they get shorter. And you can replace the tip of the pen as well if you run out of ink. So that's fun too. I made these a little different than my regular style. I did not put a bead on top, and I made them look more wood than metal. My other ones are more colorful and metallic, but I felt like I wanted these to look more Harry Potter-y. So they are more wood-like. And I also made some Valentine printouts that you can click on the link in my description of the video for the printouts of that. There's a I Think You're Wonderful heart, or Wingardium Leviosa for the feather. All right, let's get started. Okay, starting out with a lot of pens. You want ones that you can remove the ink from the bottom, and you want the bottom part to look black. Then to make it longer, I put the lid on the top, and I bought these bubble ones from Walmart. You can get them at party stores too. And I use that to make the wand longer, because pens are actually pretty short. They don't look like wands unless you make it longer. So I stacked them on top of each other, and I'm going to put these hearts on top. My kids decided they did not want hearts on top because the boys might not like them, or because they said, what if they want to use them when it's not Valentine's anymore? So we decided to not do the hearts on them, but I thought I'd show you anyways, just because that was my original plan. So I only did 2 of these hearts, but the first time I did it, I stuck the heart on top, let it dry, and then started working on the wand. But then even when I was working on the wand, the hot glue melted the glue that was holding it on originally, and then it just started all melting off. As you can see, it was a bad idea. So either you want to attach it with some wire first before you start putting it on, or just wait until you've already made the wand completely, then glue it at the end. I stick it on, and then one way to get it to stick is to dip it in water, and that will kind of solidify the glue, and then kind of put it up around the top of the bottom of the heart to keep it on all the way. And then there we are, freezing it. So the rest of them we're going to do without doing the hearts. My son is using a glue gun for the first time. He's 8, and my daughter is 10. So they get to use a glue gun. You be the judge of what your kids can handle, and keep them supervised as they're using a glue gun. I had him using the low temperature one, gluing the lids on and gluing the extenders, the bubble wand extenders on. My daughter's cleaning them out. So I'm going to start from the beginning again. Get your hot glue, and I'm using black. I prefer black just because it's easier to work with the painting process. I glue the lid on, and then the bubble wand extender. And then immediately I just start gluing that center part, because you have to cover up all the texture, all the layers there. And then this top part, it doesn't have to be covered all the way. If you try to cover it all the way, you will take a long time to do it. You just kind of want to do whatever. If you're trying to do 60 of these in a couple of days, you don't want to take your time to make these perfect. And in fact, they look more like wood if you don't do them perfectly, just kind of like a branch or whatever when they're done. So here's another method. Instead of, I kind of use the top of the glue gun and spread it thin. And if the glue is less hot, like medium hot, or even starting to get cold as you do it, then it will leave a really cool bark texture, which I'll show you. It's hard to see on the black, but when I paint it, I'll show you what it looks like in the light. So covering up that middle part again, that's the most important part. And then, and I must point out too, that top where the bubble wand shaft is, it's thicker than most dowels. So other ones I've done are actually a lot easier to get coverage and to do like a swirl type pattern or something I like to do a swirl unicorn type pattern, which you can see on my other videos. That's actually really hard to do with these pen wands. So unless you have time to fidget with it, I wouldn't bother. With this one I held the wand a little further away. The glue gun a little further away, which made it a little more stringy, and that's a kind of cool texture too. I like that. You will want to make sure you do some glue at the top right there so that you don't have a squared off look. And you won't see the bubble wand because we're going to paint it all at the end. But if you try to cover the whole thing, it's just going to take more glue and more time. So if you're making a bunch of these, like I said, just try to refrain from being too perfectionist and just put it all over. If it's very hot glue, it will start to meld together and have a smoother finish. If it's less hot, it will have a more defined finish. So keep that in mind too. But I did just want to show you how if you put a little bit more glue while it's really hot, like I had let this sit for a while and my hot glue gun was really hot. And then I held it upside down while it was drying for most of the time and kind of do clumps where it can drip from. Then you have this drippy look and it almost looks like knotted wood. So I really like that. As you can see, I'm trying to keep my kids involved in this. She was really excited to do the wand design, and this is her first time using the glue gun in this way. Just make sure their legs are covered. I kept telling her to lean over, but this can easily drip on your leg and burn your leg. And just keep her supervised or your kids supervised if you're having them help with this part. The painting part the kids can certainly help with if it's the brushing. If it's spray paint, I wouldn't have your kids do that because fumes and whatever. So you have to decide how much you want your kids to be involved. I wanted them to be involved, so they did a lot of the brushing of the paint on with me. This is black matte paint. And I like the matte paint. It just is better as a base coat. It sticks to everything better. So, and it also just has a better look in the end to have the recesses and the cracks and everything filled with the black paint. Just get everything really covered by using a fluffy brush, a big fluffy brush to get in all the grooves. And if you use a big fluffy brush, painting goes quickly. If you use a small brush, it doesn't go quickly. It takes forever. So use one big fluffy brush, and I held it at the end, but you can certainly tape off the ends of the pen, just that tip, that black tip where you're not going to be painting it, with some masking tape, or you can completely remove the ink bit from the end if you're doing some spray paint as the base coat. I at first wasn't painting the grip either, but then I just thought it just didn't feel right. It just didn't look right to have it showing. It looked so fake. So I decided to go ahead and paint it. And the crazy thing is the tip of that wand to the tip of the pen is really, it doesn't take paint very well. The hot glue takes paint a lot better than the pen does. So you'll want to do a couple coats on that area. So the second phase, I'm doing 3 layers of colors, and I'm doing black, brown, and gold, but you could use any kinds of colors that you feel would be a good combination for wood. I've seen people use browns, tans, and dark browns, light browns, and of course reds and oranges to kind of get some of that look as well, but you want to go dark, medium, and then light. So I'm using brown, and this is a dry brush technique, meaning that I don't have my brush soaking wet. I'm not going to get every single bit of it covered. I do want a tiny bit of the black shining through the lower recessed parts. It is going to show through. And so I'm not covering every single bit of it, but it is kind of not a super dry brush in that I do cover most of it with brown, if that makes sense. And as you can see here, I'm trying to get the kids involved in doing it, and my 4-year-old completely doused it in brown. So I did have to pull that off and redo it, but it's fun to have her involved. I also think if this is, a favor for their party or their Valentine's class, that it is very important to keep them involved in the parts that they can help with. And the painting really is quite an easy process. It's very forgiving. This top layer, I'm doing in gold, and it's a very, very, very dry brush. My 10-year-old was way better than me at this process. She was good at getting the brush drier and being more subtle with it. I probably did it a little too heavy-handedly, but just a little bit on the top to give it kind of the pop and show all the textures. And as you can see, all those crazy textures that we did that we were kind of fast and not too worried about, they end up looking really cool, like wood, like knotted and gnarled wood. So really, when you're doing the glue, don't get too concerned and perfectionist over getting it exactly the right shape. If you do, and you're doing 60 of these wands like I was, you will drive yourself completely insane. Okay, so don't get too caught up in the details. Just kind of get it on there, let it dry, and then paint it. Okay. And I did want to point out that these are just drying, sitting down, and you kind of just push them around after they've been drying a while so that the bottom gets dry too. And I have them drying on tin foil. You could use wax paper or something like that, but don't put it on paper because paint sticks to paper, and then when you take them off, you'll be pulling up pieces of paper. So tin foil is a really good option for painting on. Afterwards, I decided I was going to go with a spray paint to do the sealer. So I covered each of the tips with a masking tape or an electrical tape. And then I realized you could just take out the bottom if you wanted to after I'd already done them all. But that's an option too. So cover up the ends and then get some sort of clear sealer. I like to get a matte or satin, but I was just using what I had left over in my stash. So some of them are kind of shiny because I had mostly shiny left, and then I had some satin left as well. And then print out your Valentines, of course, and I have the link to that included in the description. And go ahead and have your kids do the cutting part. It's good for practicing their fine motor skills. And doing the feather one is really hard to get right into it, even if you're an adult. So we decided to just kind of round it out. As you can see the difference on the left, this one is done really perfectly around each edge. And it was really hard for her to do that, even at 10. It's even hard for me to do it. So we decided to just round it out and kind of get them all. And my 8-year-old decided to do the heart because it was easier to cut. But in the end, I think that the feather was just as easy to cut, or easier, because we're rounding it out around it. Now that it's morning and we have the wands painted and sealed, it's so much easier to see the textures. So I wanted to explain a little bit about the techniques. There's the ones with the hearts. I think it's super cute. I love it, but my kids did not love the hearts. So these are the only two with hearts. You can choose what you want to do. There's probably other designs you could put on top. All the other ones are heartless. These two right here that I'm showing you is kind of a bark texture, and it's one of the easiest things. You just kind of put the glue on wherever, and you don't have to put a lot on because we're going to be spreading it. And then you take your glue gun and spread it out. And I did the same technique with the ones on the left. The ones on the left have a hot glue, and the ones on the right have a medium hot glue, like a lower temperature. The pen is to be an example of what it would be like to use the tip of your glue gun. You just use that tip of your glue gun and spread it out. And the coolness of the gun makes it that really barky texture with a low temp glue, or spreads out if it's really high temp. Even if you're using a high temp gun, it can cool down and become that really crazy texture. So this one is using a low temperature gun, and in your low temperature you do kind of a controlled type look. And I don't super love the controlled type look. I feel like it doesn't do well with hot glue. I would rather sculpt it to get a more controlled look, but some people really like it, and the low temp gives you much more control with that. This is with high or low temp. You just hold the glue gun a little further away and let it string onto it. Our neighbor girlfriend, she has one that looks like this, and her parents said it had dragon heartstring. I thought that was so cute because it does look stringy, like it has dragon heartstring as its core. These ones are the drippy texture, and honestly, I love the drip texture probably more than anything besides the unicorn texture. The drip texture, when it's dripped towards the base, You hold it upside down so the tip is up and the drips go towards the base. That's my favorite. Here's the unicorn horn type 1, and like I said, this is my favorite texture, but it really doesn't work well with this wand because you've got that inner part that kind of gets in the way, the pen cap. And this one was like the one that I showed you at the beginning, where you just kind of fill that inner part, that middle part where the cap and the meeting is, and then just kind of do it wherever. And there's so many spots there where you would see the plastic through it, but we painted over it, so you can't tell that it's not covered all the way. So don't always worry about covering it 100% of the way because it will be painted. And this last one, my 10-year-old did. It kind of has a handle and then leaves the bottom part mostly empty with the pen showing. And I told my daughter, I said, you better cover up the writing of the pen because you'll be able to see the texture of the writing of the pen and that won't look good. But honestly, I thought it actually looked really good. I don't think the writing really made that much difference. And I wish I wouldn't have told her to not do it because it looks pretty darn good. So after your kids, if you're doing this for Valentine's, after they have cut out the Valentines, you punch a hole in the top and tie a piece of twine around it with the print facing outwards. Another way to practice some fine motor skills. So it's a fun activity. Wingardium Leviosa. Swish and flick. I can just imagine this being really fun in class, everyone doing little spells to each other, but then using them for their assignments and for drawing in class too. I really hope that it's a success. I think that it went over really well 2 years ago when we did the pencil one, but now they can keep their pens for a lot longer than they kept their pencils since they were getting short fast from all the pencil sharpening. Well, I hope this was helpful in some way. If you want some more hot glue wand tutorials, I already have quite a few of them. I'll make a playlist of all the hot glue wand tutorials, and you can watch a few of them for different techniques and ideas. There's maybe some more details about how to do certain textures or designs. And also the colors are quite different that I normally use. Also how to attach shells or crystals or beads or whatever are in those videos as well. So check those out. I hope you have a wonderful time making these pen wands. And if you want to do the potion bottle tutorial that I did the love potion for that you saw at the beginning, then I'll just go ahead and leave that here for you to click through to. Thanks for everything and good luck on your wands. Bye.